Yo, what's going on?
Yo, what's up everyone? Welcome back into More Nights Gaming. It's Riven here, and today we are talking about Godfall and going over the review. We want to know, is Godfall, is it worth it? How is it? Is endgame fun? And was it really worth the $60? I'm going to answer all these questions and more as we review Godfall. But first, if you find any of my content helpful or enjoyable, yo, smash that sub button, give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the channel and lets me know you guys are enjoying the content. If you want to see more, find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/RivenBroDragon. I'll leave that link down in the description. All right, enough of that. Let's jump into Godfall, starting with the story. There is a story of sorts, I think. Kind of dull, boring, passable. Voice acting is okay. Obviously, you are not here to play a story. You want that, there's The Witcher, Mass Effect, Anthem. Kidding. But if you are here for the story, sorry to let you down, there is not one. The story is a means to an end. It gets you acquainted with the game, work to start you on your grind, and get you to at least 30 by the time the story ends, which is pretty quick. I think I played about 8 to 10 hours before I actually beat the story. The story is just, like I said, a means to an end. There really is no story. And I wish they kind of fleshed it out more, because it could have been a really good job with the story, but they just really threw it there. And at the same point, like, why was there even a story? This whole game can be done without a story, and just throwing you in and said, hey, go grind stuff, which is pretty much what you do with the story anyway. So the story, yeah, a story for me is 1 out of 10. Like, there's nothing even there for the story. It's kind of useless, kind of bothersome. Wish there wasn't even a story. So if you're here for the story, don't bother with it. Move on to the visuals. The visuals, they are gorgeous. I love the oversaturation, the enemy designs, the weapons, the valor plates are just freaking awesome. Like, I love every single aspect of the visuals. It's really fun to look at and play while everything looks so gorgeous. It's flashy, fun, beautifully imagined, and the aesthetics change with each round, and it never gets old. This is something that they really did a good job on. It's a really good looking game, and I really like the way that they did the art direction. It's just really pretty, and I know a lot of people don't like the oversaturation, but the high fantasy oversaturation look, it just works for this game. It's really just in your face pretty. I mean, I can't really describe it any other way. It's really a pretty looking game, and they did a really good job with the visuals. But that begs the question, how are the visuals on PC? How was the performance? Let's jump into that. So the performance is a oof. So I'm using an i9 9900K with a 2080 Super for the win with 32 gigabytes of RAM, and playing this off a NVMe SSD drive, and yet on high to medium settings, I'm pulling 40 frames per second. If I put this on epic settings, dude, I get like 30, and I can drop lower than that, which is absolutely insane. Now, yes, this game was optimized for AMD, so running on the NVIDIA graphics card may not be fully optimized yet, but even from the AMD counterparts, I'm hearing the same thing with low FPS. It's nowhere near as bad as NVIDIA, though. The game needs a little optimization, in my opinion. It's not horrible and can be played, but the game needs a little love. As on a PC with this much power, there's no reason it should be this poorly optimized. I'm hoping that NVIDIA drivers will correct and give this game a much-needed optimized boost for NVIDIA users. So if you're playing on NVIDIA, guys, yo, just try to get a sweet spot for your settings. I like to turn off all my shadows. That really helped. I turned off anti-aliasing. That helped too. I dropped my texture details to, like, I think medium. That helped. It's just the game does not run well on NVIDIA cards right now. It does run better on AMD graphics cards. If you're a guy AMD graphics card, nice, and probably AMD CPU, nice. It's all optimized for AMD nonsense. So because, you know, AMD, they're rocking right now. Anyway, let's move on to the next section, combat. So Godfall has an addicting combat system. It's fast, over the top, in your face, and can be unforgiving if not played well. The issues I have with it, animation locks. Like, really? You add this in? Animations blocks? I can't block until my swing is fully completed. This annoys me. It makes the combat not as fluid as I would like. Usually in most games, you can swing a sword and then block halfway through the sword to get some damage in on the enemy, or cancel your damage swing altogether and get the block in. I'd rather get the block in than hit the enemy so I can know I can live. It's just poor design there, and I don't know why they had so many animation locks. It's just unacceptable in my opinion. So, and then we also have dodging, and this annoys me as well because you have to spec into dodging. You have to spend a skill point into this crummy little slide where most games, dodging is basic. Why do I need to waste a skill point to know how to dodge? I am some powerful warrior. How could I not do a basic slide? The basic spin that you get to dodge out of the way is not really great either. You can't spin far enough at times to get away from the attacks. So unless you're really good with your shield and parrying, this slide technique is a must-have and is a silly waste of one skill point in my opinion. And on top of that, like, you're not just blocking and parrying, you're dodging lots of AoEs. You know, you gotta get out of the poop. If you've played any MMOs or any other games where there's tons of poop that gets on the ground, you need to get out of the way. Instead of actually being able to roll, you have to slide out of the way. And the slide's not bad, but a roll would have been nice. I'm not a big fan of the slide. So other than those complaints, combat is downright freaking fun and it's really enjoyable. Talking about combat, let's segue right into the weapons. So for weapons, as if you've played, you're gonna know you're gonna have the great sword, the long sword, the polearm, the warhammer, and the dual blades. They are all awesome. All have their own animation. They all have pros and cons and strengths and weaknesses, and can really change the play style of your build totally and really make it your own. The weapons are a blast. They feel good and are not a wet noodle. When you swing the hammer, you feel like you are swinging a ridiculous heavy hammer. Pole arms are my favorite, with great swords, and dual blades are my close second. All weapons will roll with a primary stat and a randomary second. For my great hammer or warhammer, I have a primary stat on it that when I use a weapon technique, it makes a time bubble for about 10 seconds that anything inside of it and projectiles going through it slows down. This kind of breaks the game. It's pretty cool. It's a really neat system, the primary stats, because you can get some really strong legendaries with some really strong abilities and just conquer the game. The only reason that's the only reason I'm using Warhammer is because of the time bubble. That's actually overpowered and just really breaks the game, honestly. So let's jump into elements here. So elements, this needs a rework. Badly, this needs a rework. And for elements, you have physical damage, which can affect bleed. Then you have fire damage, which can affect ignite. Then you have earth damage, which can affect poison. Water damage, which can affect chill. Air damage can inflict spark, and void damage can inflict curse. So a few of my problems with the elements is, while they are all cool and they all give a specific dot, and you can really build off of these type of damages and elements by using unique armor and weapons, they kind of fall short. Most of the big bad bosses, the major bosses, they cannot be affected by elements. So the elements will have a second trigger. So chill does not give slow, shock does not stun, curse does not reduce damage out of the enemy. They are just legit a different flavored dot. It's kind of boring, and I'm not sure why they wasted time to make multiple valor plates only to do different varying dots when they could have made one and call it the mage plate, where it can just focus on certain type of damage and make skills based on a certain type of damage to further incorporate what you want to specialize in. That would have been cool. And the fact that you can't use it against major bosses, it kind of destroys the build you have. It breaks the ailment build, and you have to revert back to a breach or soul shatter build for the major bosses, which brings you back to the cookie cutter build. Like, so you're gonna go in and fight this boss, and it's both of your friends or whoever you're playing with is going to have to use the same type of build. While yes, your armor and weapon abilities might be different, but you're still going for a soul shatter and breach build for these final bosses. It's kind of annoying, and I really don't like the fact that it's built out like this. It's not cool. I think they need a better system and should really look at the elements and rework these. I don't know if that's gonna happen. Here's one to hope. Well, let's jump into skills. So there are many skills in this tree that have been that should just be part of the natural game. I'm not sure why slide, as mentioned before, was a point. Why weak points is a point. Why weak weapon techniques or focus as skill. I don't understand why this was there. These should have all been default, and the skills should have allowed you to specialize on what weapons you want to focus in. So taking weapon techniques, for example, it could have been you take a two-handed weapon, and this would have been more sense. So you take your great sword, And instead of wasting 1 point to unlock the weapon skills, it takes you were able to put in you were able to use the points in the weapon skill to further focus on two-hand weapons. So instead of saying, hey, I have to spend 1 point weapon techniques to unlock the ability to do different types of attacks with all my different weapons, I could turn around and say, I want to focus on great swords and dual blades. And I'm going to go into the skill tree and say, okay, I know my great sword does X attacks and my dual blades do X attacks. I can now further specialize in those attacks and do more damage, have different soul shatter options happen, different breach options, whatever it might be, but then go that direction. You're wasting a point to unlock weapon skills and then to further specialize in weapon skills. I guess if you want to go into the weapon skill direction, but I think it's kind of a crummy way of specializing it. Also, skills, from what I can tell, you can unlock them. They are many quests and end game that you can get all skill points from that will make this you overpowered mess. And that just from what I can tell, you can unlock every single skill point. Once you reach the end game, there are we'll get into end game shortly, but there are different things you can do, and certain quests will pop up saying, oh, you can get 2 skill points from this, oh, you can get 1 skill point from this, and it constantly repeats. So from what I can tell, it looks like you're going to be opening up every single skill out there, which is really going to make you just completely overpowered. And on top of skill points, they need the ability to just left click to spend, right click to remove. The fact I have to go to each skill point, highlight it, click on it, and then move my mouse cursor all the way down to purchase a point or purchase ability and spend it and smack that button up to at least 5 times, it's cumbersome and really time wasting. There needs to be better ways of doing this. There needs to be refund. I think left click, right click would be great. Hopefully there's something they can code in quickly and really fix the skill sheet, because it just feels rushed and not really there. And there are many other games that handle skills better. Let's jump into augments. These can change the way an ability works and boost your stats and provides nice perks, but these feels lackluster too and could really use some extra love and balance in the way they work. Not my favorite system and seems pretty basic. You have some augments that would be great for very precise builds, but still feel much left to be wanting. There's really nothing that's making this build stand out from the rest of the game. Like, augments sound like, oh, okay, cool. And while it does change certain things that, will play into gear if you have a soul shatter build, or play into gear if you have like a chill build, and that's cool, but it doesn't really do much. Like, you can, like, for each enemy, there's augments out there, like for each enemy you hit, you'll gain, when you inflict, with inflicted chill, you'll gain over health, or when you every hit, you gain 24 health back. Like, that's cool, that's great. Which would complement a leech build very nicely. But I just felt like augments would be a little bit more, just a little bit more, and it just kind of disappoint me. And this is kind of a letdown with augments. I was really hoping to see more out of augments to really change build styles and really build out that one. It's very nice though, because you can get a really good amount of perks. If you want to build a full might person, you can. You have to be mindful though, because there are places on the actual constellation of the perk of the augment tree that you have to put in red, green, and blue. There are ones that dictate to say you have to use this one. So it's very cool, and I do like it, but I wish there was more to it. It's lackluster. Let's jump into crafting. Crafting is pretty easy, really. You collect materials, you can upgrade common all the way to legendary. You can upgrade, uncommon all the way to legendary. This is called enchanting, where upgrading will increase your damage, upgrade a perk, and add another random perk to your weapon. Upgrading is pretty straightforward and doesn't offer much robust, but can be fun to take a max level purple item you love and enchant it to a legendary, then upgrade for more perks. I would like to see the ability to re-roll second perks, maybe how Division 2 does it, where it has a library of perks and you choose the one you want. Because right now the upgrade system is nice, and you can upgrade it up to 3 times, and after you upgrade the 3rd time, it's gonna be like, hey, well, you can upgrade this perk now, and then you go to upgrade it again, and it's like, oh, do you want to add on an additional perk? And you can add on additional perk, but it's pulling from a random like huge library of different perks roll out. So you might have this build in mind, and then you roll this weapon, and you roll this perk, and it completely destroys or ruins your build, or doesn't give you the perk you need. I wouldn't say it wouldn't ruin your build, but wouldn't really be the perk that you need to actually have that secondary perk to allow you to do what you want to do in the game, or it just doesn't complement your build correctly. So the weapon kind of becomes and you can't remove them. So having the ability to just kind of add the one that you want and from a library, and then once you add in, you cannot change it. You cannot change it. You cannot remove it. That's it. It's permanent. It's done. You're locked down to it now. Still kind of adding in that decision of this is final. This is the weapon you want. Go for it. I think that'll kind of give you more customization to the actual weapon and allow you to really make it your own instead of sitting here and relying on RNG to get the weapon you want. Because if it gets you a perk, if it gets you the perk that you want and that you don't want, it really could ruin your build. So hopefully, that's something that they decide later on in the game to add. I would like to mention, though, I just want to add this here. This is not a live service game. This is like a Diablo type game, Borderlands, around that type of style game. This is not a Division 2 or Destiny 2. So I know they're going to be patching for performance and things like that, but they're not going to be providing big patch updates like Division 2 gets and Destiny 2 gets. It's very focused on like Diablo. So anyway, let's jump into endgame. So as of this recording, I'm level 34, but endgame consists of two things right now. First, we got the Dreamstones. Dreamstones you unlock after the first Dreamstone. Excuse me, the first Dreamstone you unlock after beating the main campaign. There are going to be 18 Dreamstones total. Each Dreamstone is going to be 3 rounds with randomly generated activities, missions, encounters, and you're going to be fighting past mid bosses and end bosses. Think of Mega Man X. Once you beat the whole game, you're gonna go back, and then there's gonna be other bosses you can rebeat, and they're gonna be the same bosses you've already beat. So cool, but not cool. There's gonna be some optional bosses in there that you may not have actually come across or didn't find as you didn't fully explore. So that'll add a little bit of variety to it, but at the, it will still be just kind of the bosses that you've already fought over and over again. So when you start, you'll be given 2 options to choose between enemy A and enemy B. Once those missions start, there'll be various activities that will build up in that final fight. If you are successful, you get rewarded with bonus loot, given a temporary buff that lasts the duration of the full Dreamstone, and then you'll learn about the enchantments that make the final boss more powerful. So that's cool. So as you're going through Dreamstone, you're going to get buffed. And then as you're going through, the boss will also get buffed, which also makes the boss a little bit harder. So if you're playing on the hardest difficulty, yeah, it's definitely gonna be tough, which makes it fun. Adds a little bit of challenge to it, but So if you fail, you keep moving forward without the bonuses, or info, making the final challenge more difficult. So if you fail, you lose the bonuses, and you don't get any info on the boss that you would reveal. So you really want to go ahead and try and get like all the activities done without dying, because without all that nonsense, it does make the boss harder. Like, oh, okay, what is he weak against? What is he gonna be using? How should I build myself? So that does kind of make it cool to see, okay, this is what the boss is gonna be. But the boss does change based on what you're doing, what bonuses that you're unlocking. So having an idea of what you're actually be fighting against is pretty cool. So then the loot that drops is fully randomly generated. The first 9 Dreamstones are considered the first act, which is meant to just level you up and gear you up. That's really about it. Then the second act is where you unlock 9 more Dreamstones and the Ascended Tower of Trials. So the Tower of Trials, this is also part of Endgame. This goes on indefinitely. This is like the biggest test for players, for player skill, where you keep acquiring buffs and fighting more challenging enemies as far as you can go. The drops loot unique to this tower with gear players are going to be very, very extremely happy to acquire. There are 2 Towers of Trials. There's one at level 15, the Water Realm, and there's one in the Air Realm that's level 50. You can join the Air Realm at level 34 if you want to, but good luck. I got my arse handed to me. If you fail 3 times, you get kicked out. So make sure you are doing good. You might want to bring a friend, but just understand that this is supposed to be the most challenging content in the game. And that right now, there's all that is. So I'm working to get level 50. I'm going to keep playing this game until I get level 50, then check out the Tower of Trials, just so I can see what it actually has to offer. That might be something I actually just go through, because I do like endless dungeons. And I like that the fact that the loot is very unique to this tower and completely different from what the Dreamstone has, or what the main game has. So that's cool. Endgame overall, though, is kind of bland and really not much there. It's kind of like cracker. I don't know. It's kind of like a saltine cracker, a plain saltine cracker. Not even a saltine cracker. Just a plain. There's no flavor. It's just bland. Like, I don't even know what to do with this. Like, it annoys the crap out of me, because I spent $6 in a game and I knew it going in The game looks great. There's a lot of content in the middle of the game, and in the beginning, the middle of the game, but end content for some reason seems like it's lacking. And while Dreamstones are cool, and while Tower Trials is cool, it's lacking content. So overall, what do I think? Overall, I think the game is good and has a few misses here and there that can be annoying, but the game itself is fun and enjoyable to revisit on that rainy day or you're just bored. Endgame is lackluster, as we mentioned, and the game looks like it was just going towards a live service generated genre, but changed its direction. I hope future patches can help save the endgame, but honestly, I'm not betting on it. Godfall is a 7 out of 10. It has heart, but not much else, and at this time, I don't think it's worth the $60 investment. I would love to hear your thoughts on Godfall. Did it meet your expectations? Are you still playing it? Did you play it and then stop playing? Like, I would love to hear. I love to hear if this game met your expectation. Please leave a comment below because I would love to discuss. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna head on out of here. Thank you all for watching, and don't forget to smack that sub button. Peace out, everyone.